30 Corps. Cloth insignia I've got here is the famous kind of hog or ram there. Very famous black, white on black. That's British 30 Corps under the command, or, well, I say under the command, it was in the British Second Army, which was stationed there, but 30 Corps was far more famous. So whilst the American 82nd and 101st troops were dropped over their respected bridges, kind of along the way in the middle of Holland, 30 Corps started to roll their tanks and infantry, mainly Shermans or Sherman Fireflies. Some were, of course, controlled by the famous British Guards Armoured Division, who were mainly, and the 11th Armoured Division, of course, would control Sherman Fireflies. The Sherman Firefly really is just a Sherman tank, but the gun has been replaced with a British artillery 17-pounder barrel, which are far more effective with taking out Tiger tanks. That's essentially a Sherman Firefly, controlled by, as I said, the 11th Armoured and the Guards Armoured Division. But there, 30 Corps started to roll down its armour and men from left and right. There were big kind of hedgerows and what you can kind of call them, basically forest areas where German PaK 42s and MG42s and other artillery anti-tank weapons were placed. So basically, as you were driving up the road as quick as you can, there will be some time where you had to stop and, of course, get the men out and return fire because of Germans firing down from left and right. It was a big operation, very big operation. And sometimes, of course, when Sherman tanks actually got knocked out, they had to come in with a big bulldozer to actually hurl them off, which stalled them for time and really slowed down the advance. Now take on to Toby. So yes, Toby?
Yes, so one of the other issues they had was at a certain line, I think, where was it? Maas-Schleder Canal. They cleared that eventually, but moving forward, they actually encountered a pretty bulky defensive line the Germans had set up, and these were manned by two Fallschirmjäger companies. Now, yeah, a lot of people will think the Fallschirmjäger at this stage will be like pretty much the mystical kind of feared troops, but these actually were not these mystical kind of troops. This battle really is just very interesting in a number of ways. These were actually just standard Luftwaffe ground troops, so a lot of or actually just, fueling crews from aircraft even just rushed in because they didn't have enough men, so a lot of them did not even wear the Fallschirmjäger helmet, they just wore the standard M42. So having encountered this, and these units resisted quite a bit more than people thought they might, they then decided to call in Typhoon's air support. However, this went a bit weird as well, because the tank crews above their heads, as they were coming in very close, could hear kind of rattling on the turret. Now, they initially thought they were under fire, so they said to go a bit forward to the Typhoons. However, what it actually was shell casings from the Typhoons raining on top of them, and as a result of this, they didn't actually destroy the bulk of the German defensive line, which then ended up holding them up just far more than it would have done. On the German side as well, it's very interesting seeing like a lot of the scratch kind of units. So you have even in this battle an SS Watch battalion, which was made up of predominantly Dutch men, and it wasn't really elite. It was just designed to guard camps, really, which is a very bad bit of the war. They were just really not very good at combat, though. They were fanatic, very fanatical, but they were very poorly trained in the ways of actual warfare. So, I'll hand you back over to Tim.
Alright, thanks for that, Toby. So when at Son Bridge, once the 101st US Airborne Division, the very famous Screaming Eagles, had actually dropped there and got to their senses and were going to take the Son Bridge, it blew up. The Germans actually blew the whole bridge up, because that's what the Germans were planning on doing, once it was going on, to blow up the bridges. But of course, the 30 Corps had taken a couple bridges as well. So, in literally a couple days' time, 30 Corps had reached Eindhoven and taken Eindhoven, and then Son Bridge, of course, was blown up by the Germans, so the Americans couldn't reconnect that way, pardon me, and so then what you got was then just a complete stoppage of Sherman tanks who would go, or infantry who would be right back already fighting. The Shermans had to, or the other tanks as well, and vehicles had to wait for each other, and of course everybody had to wait with each other. British had their own rules, the Americans had their own rules, and everybody just had to kind of basically sit there and be bored, because of course you're waiting really for kind of one person to make a move, then the next and the next, and kind of it should have worked out kind of as a domino effect. But yeah, so is there anything you want to talk about just before I wrap up the video, Toby?
Before the video ends, so in this video, having talked a bit about the American Airborne, I would just like to say at the end of the video we're going to be including two pieces from my collection, which are the 82nd Old Cloth insignia, along with the 101st Screaming Eagles. So the 101st Airborne one is slightly earlier type of cloth insignia, which makes it a bit more desirable than the others, a bit rarer. And the 82nd is just, well, standard 82nd type, but it's really nice having these pieces. Just I know these are unissued, fair enough, but the history in those units is really quite remarkable. And there is much more history. We could literally talk about this for a week, but I don't really think
that'll be a long video.
For a video.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this part 2. I'll see you, and you guys will hear us in the third part of Operation Market Garden, which will be about the British kind of their events at Arnhem itself and Oosterbeek surrounding Arnhem. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one, and see you in the next video, or part really. Bye.